Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. It's an honor when Mr. Khalil asked me to come. I said, let me give my perspective of what the business is, because my role, as you know, I've been in Oman for 32 years, so advising businesses. So I'm coming from a totally business perspective. So my presentation today is what are the challenges in the business, economic challenges, and what the business does. So I'll start off by just giving a very brief overview of what the budget is, because that's driving the economy and the businesses. Then look at what are the challenges which I believe in the economy. There are a lot of challenges in any economy. So I pulled out 3 major challenges which I see. And then I look at 2 particular sectors to see if those sectors, as a study, if you can fix that, then obviously the benefit flows up into the economy in general. So that's what it is. And then I briefly touch on, if there are any bottlenecks in the law which needs to be looked at or other things. So budget, I don't need to go very in detail, but the total revenue has been budgeted at 9.5 billion, expenditure is 12.5, so budgeted deficit at 3 billion, 32% with an average oil price of $50. So that's the benchmark budget. Just go back, it's pretty similar to the actual of last year. Last year was similar numbers. So if you look at the oil revenue is 4.8 billion. Last year, not last year in total, gas is 1.9 billion and other revenues are 2.7 billion. So total revenue which the government expects is 9.5 billion Omani Riyal. Last year the total was 9.2. So it's a similar 17, 18. If you look at the expenditure, out of the total expenditure of 12.5 billion, defense is 3.4, oil and gas production is 2 billion, civil ministries are 4.3 billion, development budget is 1.3 and others are 1.2. So overall a budgeted deficit of 3 billion, last year 3.5 billion. The revenue is based on the oil price of $50, and that's the average which the government achieved in 2017. The key highlight obviously is that the growth is 3%, GDP growth they're looking at. Budget is based on conservative price of $70 and $50 a barrel. Now one of the areas is the rationalization of government expenditure. I think that's what the budget envisaged. And to bring it down to a break even of $75 per barrel. If there is a 75 barrel, then the government expenditure it breaks even. The deficit is primarily going to be fixed through the borrowing. And I think they'll be looking at external borrowings to make sure that the local sector, the private sector pressure is not too much. A key feature continues to be that oil and gas is 71% of the total revenue, 71%. So that is a big chunk, and I'll come to that a bit later on what are the challenges there. Because obviously with 71%, any change down immediately throws the ball out. You don't have to be an accountant for that. Non-oil is 29%, the deficit is 10% of GDP. So that's the budget overall. My presentation will talk about how do we addresses these challenges and what can be done to really look at and try to fix that part of it. If you look at the diversification, and that's the stated government policy, that sectors have been identified for diversify, which is agriculture and fisheries, logistics, manufacturing, mining and minerals, and tourism. Okay? And a lot of studies have been done by various bodies within the government and private sector, and there are huge potentials for each one of them. The question is why it's not moving fast enough, and where are the bottlenecks in these sectors to make sure it happens. Just to look at what are Oman's assets. Okay. So Oman has got almost 520,000 registered school children. Okay. It has 34,000 plus students enrolled in higher education. So that's a talent pool out there. There are people who are getting educated, coming into the job market, so there's a big talent pool to look at. If you look at the top 20 listed companies in Oman, This is, and every year, there's a top 20 analysis done by, by Oman Economic Review, and Mukhtar is sitting here, he does the analysis of it. The performance, 17 numbers are not yet out, so I cannot quote that publicly, but these are public numbers, just to give you a feel of the size of the economy which is operating there. The book value of those top 20 companies is $5 billion, 5 billion Omani Riyal, which is not a small number. Okay? The market cap last year was 6 billion. So technically 20% trading above the book. Okay? If you look at net to book value is about 12% return, and net profit to market cap is about 10% return. So that shows that profit is being made, and pretty reasonable profit is being made, and businesses which are set up properly are doing pretty well. So there is a lot of good, numbers in there. People are getting the money back, and that's what a businessman needs. Yeah, you invest and you need a return. If you look at their costing also, the total income was 4 billion. These are only 20 companies, top 20 in the stock market. I'm leaving all 16. Yeah, they have other costs of 3.4 billion. Now the other cost includes operating cost and finance, etc. Employment is 600 million. It's not a very big number. Okay, and the net profit is 600 million. So the companies are making on an average 13%. Now let me just caution you and highlight. In that top 20 companies, there are companies which are not doing too well also. There are banks also, there are telecom companies, there are power companies, there are construction companies. So construction companies are under pressure, so their result, but overall, the top 20 companies in Oman are making 13% return. Obviously, if you look at the opportunities and the options for expansion, the area to look at is other cost. And other costs, what would a businessman do? He would look at efficiency, isn't it? Efficiency doesn't mean cutting cost. Efficiency would mean use the technology, use the digital, use the modern system to make sure you get a better. So if you shave off 200.2 billion, it goes straight down. The second element is productivity. Now, productivity is directly linked to employment. So the more productive people are employed in those companies, the better the output, and hence, the profit flows down. So this is a top 20 company, just a background, overall doing reasonably well. In 2016, the pressure was too much. If you go reflect back, 2016 economy was not all that, vibrant. Oil prices were under a lot of pressure. It was below $50 for sure. And there were a lot of cash flow issues in the economy. People were not, some of the contractors were not paid on time, etc. So despite that, the economy has done well. Now, let me take you to another sector. There's a very large sector called SME in Oman. If you look at the current registration, now these numbers keep changing, but these are my latest estimate. There are 295,000 companies registered in MOCI, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in commercial registration. Okay, that's a very large number. Tax department has a registration of 95,000 companies out of those 295. PASI, as you all know, if you are a company operating in Oman and if you have an Omani employee, you must register with PASI. So PASI registration is only 57,000 companies. So the question is, who are these 220,000 companies? Yeah, such a large company. The economy is only, taking care of 95,000 maximum. Shortcut was happening. So the question is, do you want that to continue on that basis? And earlier on I said that if you're trying to create an employment for Omani youth, where is the employment opportunity? This is a sector which will create. And if you can continue, I think if no changes, the short term will continue for another 10, 20 years. Yeah? And it'll probably become bigger with the economy. As the economy is growing 4-5%, that market will also keep on growing. But in the long run, will it solve the problem? It will not.